Luka Doncic's 2023-24 NBA regular season campaign was something to behold of. The Dallas Mavericks superstar finished off the season with averages of 33.9 points per game, which ranked him first in the league, while also grabbing 9.2 rebounds and dishing out 9.8 assists per game, which were enough to have him ranked 15th and 2nd amongst all players respectively. These numbers, as well as the Dallas Mavericks finishing the season off as a 50-win team, are more than enough for this Luka Doncic regular season performance to be remembered as one of the most impressive individual seasons in the NBA's history. However, despite all the success and otherworldly performances, there are still people in the NBA world who look down on Luka Doncic and his greatness as a basketball player.
What did you want to ask Kenny?
Kenny, you've been asking me a lot of questions tonight, but go ahead.
Yeah.
Who are your two guards, first team All-NBA?
Boom.
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
But here's the deal. You don't have to limit it to two guards. It's positionless.
But if I had to go to
Positionless.
Anthony Edwards, if I had to go to Anthony Edwards and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Over Brunson?
Over Doncic?
And over Doncic? Yeah, that would be second team.
Although the Inside the NBA crew never disrespected Luka Doncic, it feels a little off to not include Luka in the first team All-NBA. While all of the guys mentioned, like Anthony Edwards, Gilgeous-Alexander, and Jalen Brunson, had terrific regular season campaigns of their own, Luka's 2023-24 performance was something unlike anything else we have ever seen. Luka's league-leading points per game average and second-highest assist per game average put him in an elite category with only Russell Westbrook on this list. Even if we look at players who have finished top 2 in both points and assists per game in the same regular season, the list is still short and filled with great names like Nate Archibald, Oscar Robertson, James Harden, Russell Westbrook, and of course Luka Doncic. Truly an elite and all-time great regular season performance. If we look at the numbers, Luka has higher averages in points, assists, and rebounds out of the four players, and is second in field goal percentage after Gilgeous-Alexander, who scored on more than 53% of his shots from the field. When you look at their team success, Alexander's Oklahoma City Thunder and Edwards' Minnesota Timberwolves had a tied 57-25 winning record, which is 7 wins better than Brunson's New York Knicks and Luka Doncic's Dallas Mavericks 50-32. So, while all four teams had great regular season success, only Luka's Dallas Mavericks entered the 2024 NBA playoffs without home court advantage. However, that is probably the only thing that somebody has over Luka for this season, because Luka had it all, basically. A 40-point triple-double, a 50-point game, only 5 games where he scored less than 20 points. And of course, the season and career highlight for Luka Doncic, a 73-point performance against the Atlanta Hawks. To add more context, Luka scored his 73 points on 75% shooting from the field and 61% from 3. A truly outstanding performance that symbolizes how dominant Luka Doncic was in the 2023-24 NBA season. So, do these numbers put Luka among the 5 best players in the NBA for the 2023-24 regular season? Most definitely. The talks should have been more about whether or not Luka Doncic should run away with the Most Valuable Player award as well. It would be a waste of anyone's time to talk about if Luka Doncic's nomination to the All-NBA First Team would be deserved or not. He clearly had a season deserving of it, especially when you take into consideration how much of the Dallas Mavericks' success was because of his standout performances. Voter fatigue is a real thing. However, that would be a weird reason not to vote for Luka Doncic to be a part of the All-NBA First Team, or a top 2 or 3 candidate, or maybe even the winner of the Most Valuable Player award. Luka is only 25 years old, and the 2023-24 campaign was his best regular season in his career. He led the Mavericks to a 50-win season, coming off a fairly disappointing 38-44 season in 2022-23. Luka Doncic clearly maintained a high level of motivation to elevate both his play and the team's success for 2023-24. He was a man on a mission, and that was evident even before the NBA regular season started. To add a bit more context, during the 2023 FIBA World Cup, Luka Doncic led his Slovenian national team to the 7th place in the tournament, despite playing without his only NBA teammate, Vlatko, who unfortunately got injured and had to sit out throughout the whole competition. He was doing it all for Slovenia, but that is something that we already knew he was capable of. During the summer, Luka Doncic committed a lot to bettering his conditioning and stamina, something that a lot of people have criticized him for during his NBA career, and his improved physical form has directly influenced his individual as well as the Dallas Mavericks team success. Why, you may ask? Throughout the 2023-24 NBA season, Luka proved on numerous occasions that he is not the defensive liability he once was, and was more than capable of guarding the perimeter as well. Luka has always been a decent post defender due to his underrated strength, but for the first time in his career, he showed improvement and effort on the perimeter as well, disrupting passing lanes and anticipating plays. To nobody's surprise, Luka finished the 2023-24 regular season with a career-high 1.4 steals. While Luka is still far from an All-NBA defensive team nomination, his improvement and effort on defense have helped the Dallas Mavericks defense a lot, and while it is still far from being at the top of the league, at least they don't have a liability on that side. Luka's improved physical form allowed coach Jason Kidd and the Dallas Mavericks to rely on him for heavy minutes, as Luka finished off the season with 37.5 minutes played per game on average, which was tied for second with Tyrese Maxey, only behind Chicago Bulls guard DeMar DeRozan. Despite playing such heavy minutes in the 2023-24 NBA season, Luka Doncic still had a good supporting cast around him. While we did not get to see much of the Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic duo in the 2022-23 NBA season, the two seem to have been on a mission to prove every doubter wrong in 2024. Kyrie Irving played 58 regular season games and had his standard averages 25.6 points, 5 rebounds, and 5.2 assists per game, while also being the first teammate that the Dallas Mavericks could rely on to take over games and get attention off of Luka Doncic. The Dallas Mavericks also had 3 other guys scoring in double digits for them, in Tim Hardaway Jr., PJ Washington, and Daniel Gafford, such as young talents like Derek Lively, who proved to be a great draft pick for them, and Jaden Hardy, who despite having rough shooting splits proved that he can be a spark plug from the bench every now and then. However, while we can praise the Dallas Mavericks' improved roster all day long, and rightfully so, one thing is for certain. Their success and performance as a team still relied very heavily on Luka Doncic. This is not a knock on the supporting cast whatsoever, but a testament to how important and amazing Luka has been. And these numbers are all proof of how good and important Luka was for this Dallas Mavericks team and their success. So, when you add up all of these numbers, context, and storyline, there is not a single reason why the NBA media would not have Luka in the highest rankings on their lists. Leading the league in points per game, being second in assists, and having a 12-win improvement from the previous season should be enough to get the job done for Luka's nomination. To add a bit of historical context as well, throughout the NBA's history there have been 25 players to have averaged 33 points or more during the regular season. Out of those players, only 2 guys did not make it to the All-NBA first team. One of those guys was Allen Iverson in 2005-06, when the Philadelphia 76ers went 38-44, and his season was overshadowed by Kobe Bryant's 35.4 points per game averaged and Steve Nash's second MVP season, and the other player was Wilt Chamberlain, who actually did not make the first team twice with these averages, in 1963 and 1965, when his teams won just 31 and 28 games respectively. If you put Luka Doncic on the second All-NBA team, he would be the first player in league history to average such numbers in the regular season on a 50-win team, and not make the cut. Not having Luka Doncic on the first team would not only prove biased voting, but would prove inconsistency as well, if you look in historical context. Speaking of inconsistency, the NBA's weekly race for the Most Valuable Player award has been a pretty good example for that. At the end of January 2024, Jason Tatum was ahead of Luka in the Most Valuable Player race, after Luka just finished off a crazy month of basketball, which was topped off with his 73-point game. You could argue that the Dallas Mavericks lost a lot of games during January, but Luka's averages of 37.1 points, 9.2 rebounds, and 10.4 assists throughout the month should have only put him higher on the list, not lower. A really interesting thing to look at is that Jason Tatum has never had a 31, 8, and 9 performance or higher, but if Luka had such a game during the 2023-24 NBA season, let alone the month of January, his averages would go down. Of course, the numbers do not tell the whole story, but this time they should have probably ended all conversations. Another interesting ranking happened in the week between March 29th and April 5th, when Luka fell from second place to third, and Gilgeous-Alexander took over his spot in the most valuable player race. What makes this situation quote-unquote interesting is that week Luka Doncic had averages of 33.3 points, 10.7 rebounds, and 9.9 assists on his way to leading the Dallas Mavericks to a 6-1 record. On the other hand, Alexander finished the week with averages of 27.5 points per game, 5.5 rebounds and 3.8 assists, on 46.1% from the field and 23% from deep. The OKC Thunder won 4 out of the 4 games that Alexander played in, but his stats during that week are obviously a downgrade from what he brought to the table throughout the season. The reason for this ranking? Alexander displayed smoothness after his return from injury, scoring 66 points in 2 games, one of which was in a loss against the San Antonio Spurs. Not to take anything away from Alexander, who obviously has had a tremendous season himself and has had a legitimate case for being named the most valuable player, but the media's ranking and criteria has been pretty weird to say the least, because in the same 2-game stretch, Luka Doncic scored a total of 68 points, which is 2 more than what Alexander did. And these numbers are all quantifiable, unlike ranking a player based on their smoothness. But, as non-voters, we can sit all day and argue whether the media is right or wrong with their ranking and make no difference. However, there have also been plenty of non-voters who have said some pretty outlandish stuff about Luka. For example, take this Lou Williams comment about Luka.
In the playoffs, if they take away some of the things that make Luka comfortable, if they take away some of the things that Kyrie does that makes him comfortable, who's that third guy on the Dallas Mavericks who can carry you to some wins, who can make big shots for you, who can carry you down the stretch? Who's that guy?
Arguing that a team can somehow shut both Kyrie and Luka down and bring them out of their comfort zone is going against what history has taught us, and that is that you can't do that. When you look at Kyrie and Luka's playoff resumes, you can find 2 of the best playoff performers in the league. And even if you manage to somehow slow them down, the 2 can both find an open man who can get hot quickly, such as, for example, Tim Hardaway Jr. The 2023-24 Dallas Mavericks squad has probably been the best team that Luka Doncic has had around him when it comes to how fitting the players around him are to his game. Kyrie is the first ball-dominant superstar that Luka has ever played with, and in this dynamic NBA game that we watch being played, it is probably what he needed all along. Both Kyrie and Luka have had entire playoff series where they have seemed completely unstoppable. So, arguing that a team has a defensive personnel and system that can stop the 2 of them is delusional. Despite being the most double-teamed player in the entire league, Luka Doncic has managed to get to the averages of roughly 33, 10, and 9, and to have someone like Kyrie Irving, who is one of the best one-on-one players in the entire league, get the ball while Luka is being doubled. Good luck to any defense out there trying to stop him. If you double one of the 2, the other guy can get the ball and create an open shot for himself or the other teammates. Some of Luka Doncic's most iconic playoff performances have been against the LA Clippers. Although the Clippers roster has changed over the years, the core with Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, who were designated as Luka Doncic's primary defenders, has remained the same. So far during his career, Luka Doncic has proven that there is no defense that can contain him, or let alone stop him. This time around, Luka has a way better suited team around him than the ones he had in the 2020 and 2021 NBA playoffs, thus making him even more dangerous than before. So, why is this the case with the NBA media? Why does it seem like they are underestimating Luka's season? Matter of fact, it is not just this season alone, but career path in general. Ever since he entered the league, as a European prospect that had not played college basketball but European, he was doubted. Yes, he went 3rd overall, but not everyone jumped on the hype train for him the first time. Once he entered the league, Luka started torching opponents night in and night out, easily winning the Rookie of the Year award over Trae Young. Over the years, he has been getting better and better, and yes, he has gotten the media's recognition. But it seems that they always have something that holds them back a bit. People from the NBA world have always tried to picture Luka Doncic's ceiling as a basketball player, but the Slovenian wonder boy seems to always crush those expectations season after season. Whenever Luka does something that we have not seen before, it seems like the media is trying to move the goalpost a little bit, so it does not seem that impressive. You can argue that Luka Doncic is not the 2023-24 NBA most valuable player, but saying that he is not a part of the All-NBA first team is blasphemy. No matter how you look at it, Luka Doncic should be a lock for your All-NBA first team. Make no mistake, other players such as Jason Tatum, Anthony Edwards, and Jalen Brunson have had amazing seasons of their own, but this season from Luka Doncic is unlike anything we have seen so far. Doncic dwarfs almost any player you give him when it comes to statistics and numbers, with Luka being number 1 in scoring, number 2 in assists, and even if you go to the advanced numbers, 4th in player efficiency rating, 5th in win shares, 2nd in box plus minus, and 2nd in value over replacement player. Luka's spot as one of the top 5 players in the NBA should be locked. With that being said, the 2023-24 regular season campaign from Luka Doncic is one of the best performances in the game of basketball. Breaking all kinds of records, while also leading his team to a 50-win season should not be taken for granted. Luka's greatness goes well above the numbers alone, and there certainly is a lot more from where that came from. With Luka yet to hit his prime, his best days are ahead of him, and who knows what he will bring to us once they come. Safe to say, the Dallas Mavericks did the right thing by securing him until the summer 2026 at least. Let's hope for the best for Luka and the Dallas Mavericks in these upcoming years.